Facts.
right? Because during the time of Muhammad, they didn't believe in blood sacrifice, but now they got some kind of symbolic ritual of blood sacrifice in their religion.
Facts.
The same with the church, same with the Hebrews is the ones who came out of Babylon, or they call it the Babylonian captivity, with the money magics, the sex magic, and the blood magic. And they the ones been pushing it. But they ain't pale faced Khazarians and they ain't Spanish Sephardis.
Yep. That's what I
They
mean.
the same ones that they call Carthaginians, Etruscans, and Moors.
Mm. The Blackamoor,
Same
right?
people. Yep. The
See,
Tawny
one
Moor was just the light skinned ones.
that's one people that they have a hard time trying to delineate a Blackamoor from an indigenous American.
We
That's
know the difference because they don't behave like us. They don't even think along the same lines. Like if you just walk up to the average brother and say, "Hey man, how much would you sell me your mama for?" You can be like, "What?" But if you walk up to one of them and you catch them when they ain't really paying attention, and you say, "Man, how much did you sell me your mama for?" Man, give me $5,000. You can take that bitch. Them ain't the same people.
right, right,
Them not the
right.
same people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's a
They'll sell their children. This is how you even end up with a slave system, a system of barter and trade for human life. For
mm,
them to be your servants so you can be lazy as you want to be if you got enough money.
mm.
And this is why this is so hard to recover for us because we being we being systematically taught to be lazy when it comes to self-development and be ambitious when it comes to the development of others.
Mm-hmm.
We will help everybody else but ourselves. And if you sit back and you think about that, right? We'll help everybody else but ourselves. What position are you in to be helping somebody if you ain't helped yourself first?
Facts.
Right? I always tell people from when I was locked up to now, when they come to me for advice on starting a business, I say you gotta be selfish enough to get where you want to be so that you can help the people you want to help. You have to cut everybody off until you get where you need to be so that you can help the most people if you want to really help. Because
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you start developing your skill sets and applying them to your life, all kind of people gonna come. You're gonna have people coming to tear you down. You're gonna have people coming to build you up. You're gonna have some people that came to help you with one part of the problem, but it's a relay race for them. They gonna pass you off to somebody gonna help you to another part of the problem,
Mm.
right? But if we don't do the self development, we won't never see none of that. We'll just be wondering why we struggle. We end up like MC Hammer. Look, MC Hammer made $40 million in a year.
mm.
2 years later, he was broke, but he didn't squander one penny. He helped everybody he could. He put everybody he knew on payroll. The millions gonna eventually begin to fizzle away.
Yep.
If he would have took the time and say, "Hold up, what can I do to make this 40 grow?" And then how much can I help people with annually that'll allow the 40 to continue to grow? That's a different philosophy. He was so busy trying to take everybody out the hood, it brought him right back to the hood.
That's how it happens. That's how it happens. When you don't teach your people how to fish for themselves. Let me see. We also gonna get into says one sociopolitical theory. I don't know.
Look, that's it right there.
Yeah.
This is the one. This is the
Okay.
one right here. It's a one psychoanalytic theory holds that the blood sacrifice was a simple projection of human. Wait a minute, I didn't think. For example, one political socio theory posits that the power to perform the blood sacrifice stabilizes the community as well as assuming the status quo of the prevailing power structure. That's how the Crispus Attucks George Washington conjure work. They say, look what it say. Sacrifice stabilize the community. How you gonna stabilize a community that's at war with a blood sacrifice?
Right.
The sacrifice is going to have to serve some type of narcotic effect on the psyche, right? So if you ask some mystics, what's the thing that'll make the angel flee from you the quickest? They're gonna all tell you the same thing: adrenaline rush, fear. The adrenaline rush of fear is not the same as the adrenaline rush of a victory. Because you have what's called cofactors. In victory, you get a massive dopamine release and a massive beta endorphin. Whereas in fear, you get a massive cortisol release and a restriction in dopamine release. So the scent pheromonically is different. The pheromone scent or the subconscious scent is not the same. So they'll know the difference between the fear response and the joy response by how they perceive the scent of the blood. If the dopamine is not high enough and the cortisol is too high, they know that's fear. It's like spraying them with mace. So they use that same science to put the earthborn to sleep with blood sacrifice. It's a stabilizes the community as well as assuring the status quo. When do the status quo change? Right? And the prevailing power structure. So the prevailing power structure is utilizing the sacrifice of the blood ritual to stabilize the society by putting people into a stupor with the blood rites. This is why they gotta have communion on the first Sunday every month. That's paying they dues to the archives.
That's the Eucharist ceremony, correct?
Yep.
And let me see if it'll pull up.
Maybe is this like?
Hold on. Okay. Let me see. I got that video up, and I wanted to because it's talking to where the home of the Ukrainian mafia is at, right, and over in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to show you that how they lit up the sky red and how it ties into these blood packs. Because it's at the bottom right here talking about how the Jews were a little ahead of the Christians and outlaw aspects of blood sacrifice to replace circumcisions and the prohibition. Let me see something. Let me see. Kazars. All right. Hopefully it'll let me pull it up. All right.
Because I'm looking and I'm learning a lot of places are calling a state of emergency, and this is in Ukraine. If this is supposed to be fireworks, why are they all like coming down like that? It's literally like stars falling out of the sky. Remember they say in the end time these things are going to be coming out of the sky. And then I showed you the other day how Russian skies were super red from this severe thunderstorm that passed, and they're still going up. These flares or whatever they are still going up. Like, what is going on? And I seen this in Florida the other day when I was traveling south in the 75. Y'all see that? Y'all see that X or that cross that the sun is projecting? It's like, again, there's something behind it. What is going on in the atmosphere?
Why the owl?
What's the
Why you say
symbol for
that?
Molech? What's the symbol of Molech?
They use a like a bull entity too. It seems like they have different ones according
That was
to.
the ancient one. In modern times in Bohemian Grove, they use a giant owl.
Yeah, that is a fact. Yeah, that's facts. I forgot all about that. I forgot all
See,
about
they
that one.
putting the blood on the owl. They use sacrificing the blood in front of the owl because it's the subjugation of wisdom.
Mm, mm. Now you see why Kendrick said they ain't like us when he's talking about Drake. He got that Bohemian Owl as his sigil for his record
It's the
label.
owl ain't the problem. It's the blood that they dash the owl with.
Right.
You see, the people that's doing that know what they doing. The dashing our blood on the owl is their way to subjugate the wisdom of the wise ones.
Mm,
Because wisdom is justified of her children. Her children are going to come and redeem the great mother every time. So how do you keep them from waking up? You use blood magic. And you take all of the symbols, like the goat head that was the symbol of the uterus, the owl, which was a symbol for wisdom, and you do blood rituals at them, and people are going to think you sacrificing the blood to them, but you're not.
mm-hmm.
Right? When Taurus was ruling, that's when they was dashing the blood on the old cow deity. That's
Mm-hmm.
the desecration of Hathor.
Mm.
Remember, they got mad at the so-called Israelites that left Egypt for creating a statue, a golden statue to who? The goddess Hathor, right? And then they tore it up, melted it all down, and they killed all the people that was involved. Right?
Mm.
The cow goddess Hathor, Het Heru is her proper name. She had nothing to do with them sacrificing them people that built her a recognition symbol. Right? But that was showing the loyalty to the earthborn. Because
Mm.
the Taurus is the bull, is the symbol for the earth energy in the zodiac wheel. Just like Pisces is water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scorpio is ice, Cancer is steam. So you
Mm.
got different forms of the elements represented by the different animals that they use to represent the element. And so if they desecrate it and people seeing them doing it, but they don't know what they doing, the assumption is that they sacrificing to the owl that they call in Molech in Bohemian Grove,
Right.
right? But they really desecrating wisdom, right? The Pope came out when the contract was about up, the Pope came out and said Jesus failed, Christ failed, the devil won. So I was like, no, devil ain't win. It's just that you don't know that Jesus ain't no man, or you don't want people to know, because he know. The Pope
Right.
know that the Greek wasn't, the New Testament was written in Greek. It wasn't written in Hebrew. So his name wasn't Yeshua, ever. But in Greek, it's Isis.
Mm-hmm.
In Kemetic, it's Isis, the heir, the rightful heir to the sacerdotal seat of the earth. And this has got to be enforced by the first daughter heir. Her daughter, Heru, is the feminine heir. Heru, Horus, is the masculine heir. It's the holy drama. It's just a blueprint to how to restore everything back to the beginning and go into a golden age upon the awakening of the rightful ones, what we call the ancient ones.
Mm.
Right? And then they let entropy run its course, because they always start by putting everybody in prosperity. Now everybody is prosperous. Let's see what y'all do with it from here. And this is a cycle. This just so happened to be the chapter of misery, where the ones who can take the most suffering take the bottom position until it's time for the last to be made first again.
Mm.
Right? Then you flip the ones who in the front that need the catharsis, right? As they assimilate they one drop of blood. They getting it all off their chest. But what most of us don't know is we are paying for what happens on the other side of the world that didn't have nothing to do with us.
Right.
That's called building up a pre-karma. So we was like, bring it on. We strong enough to take it. And most people believe that none of the stuff that's been happening over the last 500 years, that we had no choice but to be born into it.
Mm.
But they don't understand before you come into this physical body what takes place, and they don't understand when you leave. And I'm gonna tell you how I know, because people keep trying to convince other people that this is a reincarnation trap. Reincarnation is not the trap; it's the passport to eternal life.
Mm.
We eternal beings. We ain't gonna die. But would you rather want to live one long ass life for 10,000 years, or in that 10,000 years live 10,000 lifetimes?
Mm.
This is why they stripped the telomeres back in order for create an effect in the body called aging.
Mm.
Right? All this is done in the laboratory. But outside of your physical body, don't none of this stuff matter to you. You don't care about none of this. But the cohesion with the physical body generates an alternate self called the ego. The ego is built upon by the society by telling you who you is, by everybody giving you an opinion about who you are. And the more other people's opinion that you believe that's not your own about yourself, that is the building blocks of your ego. The
Mm.
purification of the ego, this is what they call enlightenment. The purification of the ego is saying, okay, let me look and examine my ego. This is the self that I present to the world. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. So scratch that off. They lied about me. They lied about me. I don't believe in that. I don't do that. That's outside of my framework. I don't operate like that. Then when you get done, you be like, damn. And they call that shadow work.
Mm.
The purification of the ego is,
Mm.
the skies is going to be bloody red. Like you seen in the Ukraine, that's a
Mm-hmm.
simulation.
So that was basically like a ritual that is going to, because the perception of art imitates reality.
Predictive programming.
Yeah, so they got to perpetuate that ideology in order to for it to materialize, basically, because they got to
Right.
get.
So
Okay.
let's just say Nibiru parked out there by the sun somewhere, and we can't see it, but they need okay from enough of us to go ahead and proceed in their orbit, because you know they can drive Nibiru like you can drive a car.
Facts.
So they changed the orbit so that it don't make the crust flip.
Mm.
Now the instead of the crust flip, you go back to January. Was it this last past January the 6th? I think it was 2023. And the core of the Earth stopped for I think 3 days, and then it started going. It started back up in the opposite direction. That's so
Mm.
that the crust didn't flip, but the core flipped. Right, because Nibiru not close enough to make the crust flip. That's what you. That's why they got all them historical disasters,
Mm.
ancient tidal waves and stuff. Because it took them a couple of travels. They only come around every 3,600 years, so it took them a couple of travels around the system in order to adjust the orbit accurately.
So do
Right.
you? So you think that's going to perpetuate sometime in between? So is this what Agenda 2030 is basically all about? Because I know all throughout Bible's teachings, he was talking about how the firmament is going to dematerialize in between the years of 2030 and 2043.
Mm-hmm. So
So
what
that
he's talking about is the Pleiadian light lock. We call it the Van Allen belt.
okay.
Right, but we're gonna have a different atmosphere, and the baby's gonna be born smarter, and they will have the opportunity to stop growing when they feel like it.
Mm.
You'll be able to control your all of your autonomic system, the stuff that happens automatic in the body. You have conscious control over it, like growth.
Mm.
You know, do you want to be 6'2" or do you want to be 7'2"? You
Mm.
know, and we will be then raised enough wise ones to know how to raise the ones that have that a level of self control. You give some of these people control of their higher self right now, and they're gonna act like a drug addict and ruin themselves.
Why you say that? Why?
It's,
Because
it's
too much power for you know.
it's a whole lot of power and it's a whole lot of euphoria called bliss at the same time.
Okay.
And instead of building ourselves up to be able to experience it, we gonna dive into it full throttle like a crackhead. Hit that pipe, baby. Beat me up, Scotty. This is why all of these everything in the 3D realm, time was required in order to create process.
Right.
Process can't be negated. Everything had to be done by a process. You can't just say she pregnant today and in the morning she go have a baby. No,
Right.
the baby got to develop in the womb, and that is the concept of principle of time. You are growing up as an infant to become an adult, but what kind of adult do you want to be? You came in knowing, but somewhere in the first 7 years, somebody else told you the kind of adult you need to be.
That's crazy. Hey, what's your cash app, by the way, so I can put that
Uh,
in.
$ capital S, lowercase IK, capital A, lowercase PE. It's SikApe.
Okay. All right, I got that at the bottom. So if y'all will, donate to the elder man, because he be dropping the knowledge, man. He been doing this for years, and I admire him. And this is, I want my knowledge level to be at his level by the time I get to his age. So
Shit, you ain't that far behind already.
I ain't there yet, man. Is it?
I probably just I probably just read a couple books more than you. That's it.
I'll be looking at y'all, man. I'll be like, man, I need to step it up. But at least I got something to follow. We're gonna get
Mhm.
some more questions, by the way. Uh, okay.
So this
Oh,
Red Dawn right here, this was a movie came out in the 80s,
yeah,
and it was about a Russian invasion that had took over America, and the only ones fighting back was these teenagers, and they named themselves Wolverines.
mm.
Wolverine is the Michigan state animal.
Hey, you know what's crazy? Guess what? They just came out with a movie with Wolverine, because I told you, by way of the doctrine of signatures, they use certain movies that's according to the timeline that we own right now. They just had the Deadpool, which is probably
Wolverine and Deadpool.
yep, Wolverine Deadpool. So like it's not a coincidence. All these alignments is like lining up. The receipts is receipting. I didn't watch that movie either, by the way. So I couldn't tell you what the movie was about. Um, but yeah, the Red Dawn, because yeah, that basically coincides with the fact that you got China and Iran. Uh, you got that whole faction of when they talking about the World
The
Economic
Brick
Forum.
Faces.
Yeah, they were talking about how they, the manipulation of the EMPs and stuff like that. So I don't know. Did the EMP happen? Did they shut down the grid when they infiltrated? And I ain't never seen the old one. I only seen the latest one they had that came out in the early 2000s.
Which
So
one?
in Red Dawn, did the grid go down in this one when they
Oh, and
invaded?
that one it wasn't no grid to go down for the time frame of the movie. It wasn't no internet back then.
Okay, okay,
Internet was a new the internet was a newborn baby.
okay. All right.
That's a good movie though, but the Wolverine colors is Michigan State colors.
So what does
And
that?
okay, remember, Red Dawn, they call themselves the Wolverines.
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine is the Wolverine from the X-Men colors is blue and yellow, the same as the Michigan State colors.
Mm.
I mean, not Michigan State,
Yeah, university.
University of Michigan.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Now, so what it's telling you is that the recovery team for the blood rights is going to come from the right hand of Mother Gaia.
Mm.
So he come forth and proceed from the right hand of God is what they told us in the book.
Wow.
Right. And so they giving you all of the codes, but they're not telling you how to translate them. You got to figure it out. That's the
Exactly.
part that used to piss me off.
It could be,
Everybody always tell me, you smart, you'll figure it out. I ain't that goddamn smart. Anyway, so the Red Dawn is a reference to the red iron oxide dust cloud,
mm.
right? Russia, China, and North Korea is the boogeyman. They about thinking much about us is your dog is thinking about them.
Mm.
Only time they even concerned with what's going on in America is if it's going to directly affect them. They got their own people to oppress. They don't need our oppressions to come over there oppressing with them.
Mm.
And they don't need to be distracted from their oppressive regimes in order to be concerned about what this oppressive regime doing. But all of them been overthrown in the last 25 years. There's very few of us know that. Like
Mm-hmm.
the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, they not even in charge no more. It's the
Fact.
People's Republic of China now.
Facts.
And a group of matriarchs in China and some of the surrounding smaller countries got together and wrote a whole new constitution, and they wrote a whole new government program, and they announced it publicly over here, and did none of us catch it. I had it posted on my the video was posted on my Facebook, but Zuckerberg and them took it down.
Oh yeah, they've been doing a lot of stuff with your social media. So like I
Yep.
said, that you can always use my channel as an outlet, because I was looking at some of your stuff and I was like, man, a lot of the stuff that they suppressing the information. You couldn't even go live on Instagram no more, right?
I can't go right now. I'm still in Instagram jail, but I'm back on live on Facebook. But I ain't been had nothing to talk about. This is the only thing I had left to talk about, was
Okay.
to get people to understand that if you understand the blood magic that's being used against you, it won't work. You got to understand how it works in order to nullify its effect. Your spiritual self will know how to alert you and defend you by being informed.
Mm.
Right. Once you realize that the blood magic is serving your worst interest, your spiritual self says, I don't want none of that. I'm going over here.
Right.
And that's why a lot of the children, we don't know why they be having tantrums. They want to get out to church when they children. They see it, but they don't know what they're looking at.
I
But we
want to.
get beat into going to church anyway.
Yep. If y'all got any questions, man, hit up the super chat. Questions go first. But if y'all got some questions, ask an elder. What's going on. Let me see.
My Facebook is Rod Hayes. I can't tell you what my profile is because I change it a lot.
You got a gorilla. It's a gorilla in a space outfit, I think.
Not right now. Right now, it's a brother with some kids on his back swimming across the ocean.
Okay. Let me see. I ain't seen. It's your time to ask some questions. Okay, correction. Somebody just said correction. If voting was the solution, it would be saved. That's not a question. It's a statement.
It's a good statement, though.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Listen, they not concerned about the voter.
Mm-hmm.
They concerned about one of us at the grassroots that can organize voters. Those are natural born leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a minute. They don't care who you vote for because you ain't elected nan president, senator, or congressman in DC.
Facts.
Electoral college gonna do all of that, but they need to know who can organize the vote because they need to know who to buy off. And if they
Mm.
can't buy them off, they need to know who to kill off.
So somebody was said, what are ways that we can use clean magic, start this ritual magic? So what?
You got white candle magic, sage magic. You got defensive black magic. It's a
Mm,
lot of them you can do, but the knowledge of how them conjure work gives you a built-in defense system.
mm,
But for some of the ones who are aware of how to use the conjures, when they get the understanding of what took place, they know how to defend it. They know how to keep that energy out of their environment.
mm.
What harvest?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Corn harvest, the turkey harvest, the pumpkin harvest. What harvest? Lion's Den.
So we're it's a Sabbath day, a ritual, and should any of us follow it?
That don't got nothing to do. Sabbath day has nothing to do with me. But people have to do what they feel in their heart is right. I don't have no special day of the week. It's 7 of them, and I'm number 7. So I count from 1 to 7, and I'm at home. So it don't matter to me about no Sabbath because I do the same thing on Sunday that I do on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday,
I heard that.
and then I do something on Tuesday.
And they asked, "Have you heard of the green sun?"
I ain't up on the green sun.
Yeah, I ain't
Not
heard
in
of it.
this solar system.
Right. That can only be applied to like ether and gamma radiation.
Well, you got to remember the love energy can, if you filled up, you will be seeing shades of green instead of shades of red. So it could come across as a green sun because that's the frequency, the love frequency. And when this mitochondrial blast hit us and turn our love light on, all I can say is, sister, sister, sister.
Yeah, that's when that Schumann resonance spike gonna go from 7.83 megahertz frequency to 13.13. That's that Queen Mother seat energy. That's that love
Mhm.
you saying. That's when
Yeah.
you're gonna reach that apex of consciousness. So
Yeah, nobody never noticed, Bidell, that all of those masculine gods use threats and intimidation, but the mother god just tell you to go experience life and learn how to love.
mm-hmm,
Like they don't see the difference in that.
right,
All of the patriarchal deities, Yahweh, Allah, they always threatening to fuck you up. I'm gonna bust your head. I'm gonna take your kids. Look,
yeah,
go read Job. They
mm-hmm,
always threatening somebody. I'm jealous, guy. Why are you jealous? That's a human emotion,
facts,
and not only is it a human emotion, it's also a learned behavior.
yep,
It's contagious like chickenpox.
yep.
If you got one in the house with you, one bad apple spoil the whole bunch.
So that
Yeah,
means,
jealousy not natural.
yeah, that's that's a form of dark psychology they use.
Mm, jealousy is a byproduct of the worship gene.
Mm. Oh, you talking about the vesicular monomer transporter 2 gene, that the VMA2 gene that people have embedded in their neurotransmitters, and it
that
gives
makes them that makes them look for something greater than themselves, outside of themselves.
gives them a propensity to believe in certain stuff. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, do you think that's acclimated to the fact that that ideology is connected to people who are NPCs, or do they have the rights of ascension to reverse that polarity by way of
The people that didn't have the right of ascension had to get a drop of blood from the organic originals. It was the same way that the Anunnaki had to surrender a drop of blood because of the genetic mistakes they made. The
right?
only way to correct the mistakes of is by putting it up and pairing it with a perfected genetic stock. That's why they say there's a God DNA. It's a
Mm-hmm.
perfected genetic stock. Everybody think that the 13 strand uh, DNA helix is better than the two. But all the two strand DNA helixes, the upgrades, all of the upgrades is now on two strands. So now you don't need a bulky 13 strand helix. It's
Mm.
the same way your car in a Cadillac, a 1955 Cadillac, is way bigger than the 2024 Cadillac.
Facts.
Right? You don't mess around and get no 70s Cadillac and pull up alongside one of these little tiny 2024 Cadillacs. Right? Because as things begin to be refined, right? That means that it's made smaller in size, less space, it's compartmentalized more information into a smaller data enclosure. By expanding the bandwidth of the smaller data enclosure, it can produce the same frequencies that you needed 13 strands in the early stages of genetic creation.
Mm.
The human DNA was a unique DNA,
Mm.
right? They don't ever tell you that they started out originally as a 24 strand. That's why you don't know that the 12 strand is only half of it. Which when they was 24 strands, a 12 strand would have only been an RNA chain.
Mm.
But now, as time went on, you don't need all of that dead excess stuff. You want to make it more efficiency to defy entropy. Think about that.
Mm.
What's the remedy for entropy? Everything has to have equal input, equal output.
Balance.
Yeah. That's no entropy. That's no aging at that point. You done turned all of the deteriorating factors are now turned off because there's no entropy.
Mm.
This is what creates the time phenomenon. And it also is a contributing factor to them explaining to you that Kronos eats his children,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he's eternal. They not. They reincarnate. So it looked like he keep eating them over and over and spitting them back out. But it's the same child. He just grew old through his levels, and then he left the avatar to reincarnate into a different avatar. When we used to do debates, I used to tell dudes I don't debate uh um reincarnation because I'm biased. I'm automatically biased to the subject. They said, "Well, why you say that?" I said, "Because I can remember too many past lives."
Mm. Matter of fact, since we on that, how do you tap into that? Because just based upon my own personal experiences, uh, it be some of the same dreams that I had like since I was younger. Like I have a dream that I got shot, and it'd be the same dream over and over. I got shot and I hide underneath the car, and I'm thinking like, is this something that you know? Is
Did
this a
you know what age you was in the dream?
No, I was an adult, but I had it. I had this a dream. Had this dream since I was like 5 years old.
Right. When you was 5 years old, did you see yourself as a 5 year old? And then when you became an adult, you have the dream you an adult.
No, it was just I was an adult the whole time. Like
Okay.
I grew up, I knew it was, when I was 5. I knew it was me as an adult, and then I just had the same dream.
The reason I asked that question is because reoccurring dreams is your guidepost to something to look for, to either go into or to avoid
Mm,
from a past life. It's a certain. That's why I asked you if you was a child and when you was dreaming as a child and adult, because then it would have been a message that you carried through your life. But since you was an adult when you was dreaming it as a child, that means that it's something that when you grow up, an event, a powerful event, is going to transpire. Right? The event don't necessarily have to be the gunshot, but your
right.
subconscious memory is tied into your personal Akashic record, which goes back to your first spark.
Mm,
So everything you ever experienced, your subconscious is now going to use this to educate you and to
mm,
give you, if you see it, you'll remember what you don't remember in your book of life for this life.
mm-hmm.
And then you'll know how to move. So at certain intervals, the dream might come up to make you make a different choice to avoid the eventuality of the dream manifestation.
Mm,
Right? So you're telling yourself, remember this, whatever you do. But in the 3D, if you don't know what your book of life is, you won't know why you told yourself in the past life to use that to alert you.
mm. And you know what's crazy about that? Where the area where I got shot at, there's like a little hole right there, but it looks like a extra like small. It looks like a mole, but the area where I got shot at in the dream, that's where it's at.
Mm-hmm. This,
Weird.
this probably actually happened in the past life,
Yeah, that's
and
why I was.
you using it in this life as a navigational tool, a divination instrument.
Mm,
So there's something that you're about to do that triggers the dream, and if you want the right outcome, then the dream served its purpose until you get to the next part where the dream come back again because you're about
mm,
to make a major decision.
mm,
The impact of the gunshot in the wound is means to be hit with extreme power. So you could be telling yourself you leveling up, or you should be telling yourself you finna meet somebody else that leveled up. Depend on how you perceive in the dream in the event. Because you probably didn't seen it from multiple angles during the course of this lifetime when you dream about it. But it's the same dream.
mm. Man,
So
that's
you was
deep.
telling yourself you was using it. So I always call those ancestors smart as hell because I was too dumb to leave me clues. I didn't start seeing my clues till I was old as hell.
Mm,
But I knew what was wrong. I knew what the problem was. But I didn't know like what I was supposed to do about it or none of that. But
you
as
know.
I got older, then I started dropping me clues. And that's when I started realizing, hold up, something going on here.
Mm, hold on, let me see. There was another question that came up.
This one up there now, do we all come from the Olmecs or is that relating to a small group of people?
I can interject on this as well. I know when you talking about Pangea way before the continental drift, a good majority of us we came from West Africa and we migrated to the Americas, but North and South Exum, when you study like the great majority of the Moorish doctrine and the paradigm, it tells you basically like North and South Exum is actually America. So Pangea all in one is, basically, um America essentially.
And Mexican, where Mexico come from.
Right.
It's a shortened version. But the Olmec people is the same people as the Inca and the Maya.
Facts.
They just different time frames, different family groups. When you got two chiefs that don't see eye to eye and they can't get along, Big Mama separate them. When she separate them, they go settle in a different part of the land, and she give them their boundaries. This is how you get a territory, right? Now, these people that's Olmecs is the same people as the Inca, the Maya, the Mississippians.
Facts.
They trace these people go all the way into the Amazon basin.
What are you talking
But
about?
we use the word chief because everybody familiar with them referring to our leaders as chief. And every motherfucker they dressed up to look like us and put feathers on, then they call chief too.
And how do practitioners of blood magic process heinous acts? Do they truly see it as a like a charging battery, just energy and numb all too else?
They borderline psychopath, sociopath with
Mm,
just enough normal to function in society. The influence of the constant bloodletting, it numbs them to the victim. They will be have an emotional breakdown about their cat, but the
hmm,
kid that they sacrificing, it will trigger no emotion. They mama, their sister, or their brother might die, and they might have genuine emotional breakdown. But they victim won't trigger that.
mm,
This is why it's like border path, sociopath, psychopath,
mm,
right? People be using the term narcissist too freely. Narcissist is so rare that they create stories around them because that's how rare they are, right? And this is why they even have a myth called the narcissist. You gotta remember, all of their psychological scripts came from Greek mythology.
facts.
That means that they're enforced through something called pharmakia.
Magic.
And pharmakia is what? Sorcery
Mm-hmm.
or pharmacy. Would you want to translate it or transliterate it? Right? So when they using those um, methods, they also narcotizing the person that they have do the actual bloodletting. And the blood is going to also narcotize them if they got any good.
Mm,
So they just become numb to the victim, but they functional everywhere else, or appears functional everywhere else. The ones that can't take it, because they fall into the bottom. Very few of them turn into crack addicts.
mm-hmm.
Very few of them turn into heroin addicts. Most of them go into the bottle because alcohol
Mm-hmm.
is the spirit that's responsible to take care of the ones that did the dirt that they can't function with. That's its spiritual function to console those who fall into the darkness. So
Mm,
what do? Smash them with some alcohol. And then you can use that because in that drunken state, they can't lie because the
right.
processor turned off. And then you slap their ass on drink tramps and gradually get them drunk, asking harder questions as you go on.
Yep.
This is a cultural phenomenon that's only native to here.
Mm,
We didn't generally drink. And our elders knew that certain elders, what they call the alcohol chiefs, using modern linguistics,
mm,
they are the drink champs.
mm,
They the ones who sit around and drink and talk all day and go over the histories and correct the stories while they drinking, but they don't never get drunk. So when your child come in there land and they
Lot.
sit him in front of the drink champs, he's gonna eventually get sloppy and tell the whole goddamn truth.
Yep.
And, and that's where you get that tagline, a drunk man speaks a sober mind. That comes from the original tribal drink. Them boys they reenacted our original culture on
Mm.
drink champs. You get them a little drunk, they can't hide their feelings. If they want to call you the N word, it's gonna come out.
Right.
But if their heart is pure, it can't come out when they drunk like that. If they don't feel that way, they gotta actually feel that way for it to come out. And that's why the politicians used to get drunk in secret because they
Mm.
couldn't say the stuff out loud for the people to hear it. And
Mm.
somebody invented something called a microphone and a recorder. And then they created these things called spies. And then they start understanding the leverage of blackmail. Then they start understanding the power of a blackball. You will never make another dollar in this town, buddy. You've been blackballed by the black hand,
Yep.
walking around like a black man all the time he called himself white.
Yep.
The story is in the riddles is in the rhymes came through from rapping and tapping. Rapping and tapping is the knockback to the knock from the spiritualists in the 1900s to pass the message through the musicians in the 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
So over the course of the development of rapping and tapping, you got from like 1830 to like 1930 was his hey. And hip hop started in the 1970s, and we in the 2020s now.
Right.
So we into the thick of recovering using the music, recovering the rapping and tapping stories that the spiritualists put on the wire back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. But if you don't know what you're listening for, you can't crack the code, right? So when you realize that it's about the union of divine masculine, divine feminine, now you look at all of these people different from a historical perspective, from an unbiased view. And this is why Noble Drew Ali say, listen to the European and make them tell you the truth. But half them niggas was passing.
Mm-hmm.
And we thinking they're Europeans. And they
Right.
working for some Negroes that's darker than us called the Black Hand, the Black Brotherhood of Spain, the KKK,
Mm.
right? The Scottish Rite, the Skull and Bones Society of the pirates. And the pirates came to loot the land in search of the city of Cordoba. And Cordoba mean gold in Spanish, which tells us that the people looking for Cordoba had to be conquistadors, the conquering Tudor families,
Mm-hmm.
who was being in exile because they lost the war in Europe in the French Revolution, the Spanish Inquisition, and the Pope gave them the discovery right. The way to redeem all this is by capturing the foundational document. As we systematically unraveled a system by capturing the foundational documents, we liberating the people, but at the same time, the people got to be properly prepared to receive the redemption that's coming. They got to know that let them people fight for reparations because the system is already gone, so they just talking to themselves. There's nobody in DC to pay them nothing.
Mm-hmm.
America is dead. Just a new sheriff in town. They called him Chief Pontiac. I'm not playing by none of their rules. Everything by tribal rules. And tribal rules is grandfathered in before their first constitution. Before Columbus ever sailed, the oral tradition of redeeming the land has been passed down from generation to generation. It became autonomic. Now all I have to do is read it, and the people begin to see what I'm saying as we put it together. They brain put it together holographically.
Mhm.
That's what they call um, feeding them light codes, codes to unlock the inner light. This is what Malachi was teaching us, right? So Malachi, High Priest Melchizedek,
Mhm.
was teaching us about how to teach the light codes to the ones that come after us. But you can't teach it till you understand it.
Mhm.
Once you understand it, and then you know how to flip they codes into the public domain for more people to perceive it and unlock it in their own mind just by what you showed them. They don't have to believe you, but the higher self know the truth. So he gonna override your ego self when he get enough truth. Your ego self gonna be like, man, I'm always bullying me. But your higher self gonna be telling your ego self, get your punk ass out the way, man. Don't you see you giving me what I need to wake up?
Right.
And by the time your higher self get done whooping your ego self pillar to post, I bet you have a purified ego, and your shadow work would have made it a little bit easier.
Self-realization. Self-realization.
I said, what is the correlation between the next election, Project 2025, and Supreme Court stating that administrative courts are non-constitutional? It's the fall of America.
Yeah, I did a
It's
whole video about Project
yeah.
2025.
Yeah, but the real Project 2025 is Mardi Gras coast to coast. Because we won, they lost.
Mm.
Now they butthurt. It's too bad. Just don't come to the family dinner with that BS because we just needed an excuse to cut your throat anyway for what you did to us.
Mhm.
Right? So we ain't asking for permission. We don't need no excuses to exercise our sovereign right to do what's right. That's it. And everything has been recovered. The next election, I don't think is gonna take place. Okay, when the last time y'all seen Joe Biden? The last time I seen him, he went from 6'2" to 6'8", and then he disappeared again.
Yeah.
Kamala about to drop out,
Why,
right?
why, why you think she dropped? Why is that?
Because she got too much Haktua in her blood. It's symbolism. First,
Right.
she want to because Biden they're gonna have to announce that he dead or that they stepped down or something, and then she's gonna have to assume his responsibilities,
Right.
which is gonna interrupt her campaign capabilities. She's gonna have to say, I got to perform the functions of the presidency until November. Um, I'm gonna be able to do both campaign and cover this base because too much stuff will fall through the cracks, which is true. You can't pull double duty like that. Now, I don't know if they're gonna split her clones into teams and run two this way and two that way and
Right.
try to cover both bases like that, but I don't see another election happening.
Mm.
It just doesn't seem it just don't seem prevalent.
So,
It's like
so do you think it's going to something is going to what type of event do you think is going to transpire before that? You know.
it looked like it's gonna be soft disclosure because if they was gonna give it to us in shock and awe, they would have dropped it already. So in the soft disclosure, they'll start showing you certain signs, and then they'll start tying them together, and then it'll come down to a public announcement by a person that's playing the role of the figurehead.
Mm-hmm.
He had to alert you to the fact that the military in charge. We've been in continuity of government since 2019. The government transition is final. We drained the swamp. The cabal has failed, and the Earthborn has once again prevailed. You know, some old presidential speech writer gonna put their slant on it and try to sound eloquent.
Mm-hmm.
all of those all of those celebrities that they have and come out performing, right? They dragging them out. Right. So what that means is they force them to do something that they don't want to do or lose their career. And they're using them to garner the attention of a certain demographic of viewer. They're not worried about the old people no more because they said they're gonna die soon anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't worried about the babies because they said they ain't old enough to pay attention to what's going on yet.